Hey guys, it's Peanut and Ice Cream Bar. So I'm here with another wig video for you guys, and before we get started, I just want to say, if you like these kinds of videos, if you want to see more of these kinds of videos, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Every little bit helps. So this time we're going to get into some really basic tips and tricks of the construction of a wig. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm actually, after my first layer of hair, pulling out any excess little fibers. These are fibers that were going to fall out anyway because they didn't get glued on, so I'm just going ahead and pulling them out as I go so I don't have to try and deal with that all at the end and they'll all get tangled up and messy and matted and gross. And those hairs you can either save to use for another project or just discard them. Another thing I like to do is actually a lot of combing. I know that's not very exciting, but once again, you never know how many hairs are really attached or long enough. So if you can get out any hairs that are definitely not going to be attached but are hidden amongst the hairs that definitely will, that's always good. Then of course measuring, cutting. I like to separate my hair instead of glue it on in big clumps. Sometimes I do glue it on in big clumps. You've definitely seen that if you've watched some of my other wig videos, but I really do prefer to put it on in smaller clumps because that way I don't get bumpity clumps. Bumpity clumps, bumpity clumps. And you've seen me do this before as well. Once I attach the hair, I like to take the end of the brush if I'm trying to make a very specific style or something like that and it needs to lay super flat. Take the end of the brush and just flatten out the glue. That way as I work I'm not getting a lot of bumps from, you know, whatever adhesive I'm using to attach the hair. Just a personal little preference. And it helps make sure that I'm not catching, or that I am catching every hair that's in there as opposed to just gluing basically the top layer of the hair and then the bottom layer is gonna all peel off, which is, of course, very frustrating. So for this wig, I also wanted to show you guys how to kind of do a two-toned thing without making it look too much like he's wearing a hairpiece on top of his normal hair, because it can end up looking like that. I've struggled with that in the past, so maybe I'm just an idiot, but here we go, showing you guys anyway. So what I'm doing is taking the next color of hair that I want to use, and I'm just going to really kind of sparsely at first this in amongst the other color, fading it in, not too much, not trying to make a gradient, but just trying to make it look a little more of a natural progression. And you can see, even though I'm cutting my hair as I go, there are definitely times when I'm running low on fiber or times when the fiber just can't be as long as I want it to be or need it to be. That is all going to be fixed at the end of the wig when I'm going to trim it up and make it look like an actual hairstyle and a little bit less like fur, hopefully, is the end goal there. So yeah, that's something that will come up eventually at the end and hopefully be fixed. And you can see as I'm going along, it's not that I'm trying to create, like I said, a specific gradient, just that it's as if he took pieces of his hair and dyed them as opposed to taking the whole top half of his hair and dyeing that. And then as it layers more, it's going to disperse a little bit more. I know it's kind of hard to tell when it's not combed out or anything, but yeah, that's the goal. You can also see the amount of glue I'm using is generally not a lot. Just personally, I am really messy and clumsy, so if I end up using like a lot of glue on my brush at once, I am going to slop it all over everything. It'll be a complete disaster. So there's no reason that you can't get a lot of glue on your brush. You just have to have a steady hand. My hands are super, super shaky, so it's the way that I have to do it, otherwise I'm gonna get glue all in all my fibers and it'll be a mess. I suppose I should also say the method I use to close this wig and form the part at the top is pretty similar to the method I used for my wig that I made for another one of my dolls. I can't remember what the title of that video was, but I will definitely try and link that to you, as well as how to make a no-sew wig cap, etc. And the closure is definitely the part where you want to be the neatest with your glue and use as little as possible, because at least if you're using Mod Podge and probably some other forms of adhesive, even though it dries clear, you can see that kind of plasticky look. So the more you can minimize that, definitely the better off you'll be. So once I finished up that closure, basically I got everything right at the corner, and then you can see I had a cut in the wig cap. I took hair and glued underneath that and then pulled it through to make a nice even part, and then on the underside I just glued it together with Mod Podge. That finished up the wig. The next step I had was to take a razor, just any old razor, and just cut the edges of his hair. Really, I want to remove all of those scraggly bits of hair that are just a little bit too long, bits that are going to fall out anyway. That's kind of the goal. And then if you wanted to create any kind of layers, things like that. For me, this is a really good application of a razor. So that is his wig all finished and combed out. Hopefully you got some interesting little tidbits of information from this video. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!